Blessings, everyone. Welcome. So good to see everyone tonight. We are jumping on just a little bit late, but we are here. We are here live. And if you can do me a favor, if you can go to our Facebook page, Henry Benz Jr. and Congregation Rehoboth, and do me a favor and thumb up the video, like the live, and then share it. Share it on your page. Invite a friend, family member, even an enemy. Invite an enemy tonight. Invite someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Someone that you believe needs to hear the topic tonight. As you can see the topic on the screen there, guys, we're going in tonight. And so do me a favor and thumb up the video and share this live. Go to Facebook, go to Congregation Rehoboth, go to Henry Benz Jr., go to YouTube. And when you go to YouTube, you want to go to Congregation Rehoboth and like the video, thumb it up, and then share it. If you do have a YouTube page, thumb up the video on your page. All right. We have an exciting lesson tonight. If I do say, no one is dealing with this particular topic, y'all. I'm not saying no one, but I have not heard this topic dealt with. Only a few, maybe a few individuals. But we are definitely going to deal with this topic tonight. Tonight is the night, and we're going to set the record straight in some areas. We're going to do some correcting in some areas. There are going to be things that you're going to learn that are going to be new. There are things that you're going to learn that you may disagree with, which is good. You don't have to. I don't want you to agree with anything that I say. But what I do want you to do is I want you to go back and research it and be like the Bereans, that when Paul spoke, they went back. As a matter of fact, the scripture says, I believe it's in Acts 17, that the Thessalonians were more noble, that the Bereans were more noble than the Thessalonians. Why? Why were they more noble? Why did they have more character? Why were they more noble? Well, the scripture says that because they went back and they checked everything that Paul said with the word of Yah. And so that's exactly what I want you to do tonight. Don't believe me. Don't believe a word that I am speaking, y'all. I want you to go back and check the record. I want you to go back and check to make sure that the things that are going to be said tonight have ironclad proof in history, in scripture, that they are fact, that they have been proven, that they have been shown and proven through history, through scripture, through logic, through any means necessary, that they are true and accurate. You definitely want to do that. All right. And so we're going to get started in just a bit, just giving everybody a chance to go to our social media, go to their social media accounts. And I don't know, maybe you can put this on, I don't know if you can put it on TikTok. I don't know if you can take the link and do that. I don't know if you can take the link and put it on IG, but whatever means, I got to figure out a way to do that. There is a way. I just have to make sure that I do it and make sure that is done. So we just want to say shalom to everyone, peace and blessings to you and your family too. And join in, go grab something to write with. Just like, look, this is a classroom. This is a classroom setting. This is not just an emotional setting, but this is a classroom setting. If you're not here to learn, then you can excuse yourself from, and learning doesn't simply mean me indoctrinating you. Learning means that you participate. As a matter of fact, the Hebrew word for student, talmudim, means to teach also. It means to ask questions. It means to interact. And so we got to get out of this American, European understanding of learning where the teacher stands up as the sage on stage, but go back to our code. You say you want to be an Israelite, right? You say you the people. Well, we got to act like it. We got to go back to our ancient heritage. Well, what is that, Pastor Benz? Well, that's why we're here. That's what we're here to learn. That's what we're here to study. And so here we go. Here we go. You guys got your pens, your pads. You guys got everything you need to learn tonight. Make sure you have all the tools you need, y'all. Let's keep it 100. Make sure you have all the tools you need, so that we can get her done tonight. You can see the topic. You can see the topic on the screen here. And we're going to jump right in to this lesson here, but give me a second. Give me 1 second here as I stop sharing that. And let me make a couple changes here. There we go. All right. I will be sharing my screen one more again so that everybody can see. Tonight, we're just going to go to the first scripture in Deuteronomy, chapter 5. We're going to say Deuteronomy 24 and Chronicles chapter 24. That'll probably be part 2. Tonight, we're going to lay a serious foundation, y'all. I hope you're ready. I hope you are ready and prepared. Again, you're going to need to take notes, man. Be serious about your learning. Listen, I'm not even going to go out on the limb. I'm just going to say it straight up. This biblical learning, I don't care what you think. I don't. This biblical learning is the most important learning in your life, period. I don't care what you learn in school. I don't care what you learn in the hood. I don't care what you learn in your home. This Hebrew learning, biblical learning, is the most important learning in your life. It encompasses everything. We shared this before. We shared that if you believe that there is an omniscient, all-knowing Yah that is alive and well, that exists, all right? But not only that, the demons believe that, okay? They believe that Yah exists. But you have to believe that he not only exists, but as the book of Hebrews tells us, that he does more than just exist, okay? And this is what we understand, because without faith it is impossible to please Yah. And he is the omnipotent, the self-existent one, the preeminent one. And we've come to learn of him. Oh, yes, he is preeminent. Well, what is preeminent? Well, according to 3 John chapter 1 and verse 9, scripture teaches us all about his preeminence. It says, not 3 John, I apologize for that. Colossians 1 and 18. It says, and he is the head of the body. And that is the congregation, the assembly. who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. The preeminence, y'all. That means that he comes before any and everything. It's the highest place. See, many of us, we want to be the preeminent one. We put ourselves in the place of Yah. We don't want anyone over us. We want to rule. We want to have our own surpassing thoughts that supersede anyone else. But it just doesn't work like that. Can I give you some examples? All I need is 3. First of all, in your home, I learned that at a young age. I was not preeminent. My mama was. My daddy was when he was alive. So there were 2 people over me. Then I had a sister that was older. She had the preeminence. Come on and go with me. Then when I got older and went to school, I found out there was such thing as a teacher, okay, that had the preeminence over me. But then that teacher had what was called a vice principal and a principal, and they had the preeminence over all of us. And then once I got old enough to have a job, then I found out that there are things called bosses, supervisors, and they had the preeminence over me as well. I couldn't do what I wanted to do on my job. I couldn't do what I wanted to do at school. I couldn't do what I wanted to do in my home. There are a whole lot of people who think they can, and they wind up in places like the county jail in Los Angeles. They wind up in places like Santa Rita in the Bay. And so if you don't submit or surrender yourself to the preeminence of Yah, you will ultimately surrender yourself to the preeminence of something or someone. No one person rules every and anything. Are y'all with me tonight? And so what should we be looking to tonight as we get started? Well, let's look to Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse number 1. Deuteronomy 5 and verse number 1. Make sure you have something to write with, something to write on. Make sure you are prepared tonight, y'all, because we're definitely going to go in on a new topic. You know, it seems like I start new topics all the time, but it just seems like that. There's a lot of learning going on. There's a lot of learning going on over here. You better get used to it. And you should be grateful for that I'm not just up here wasting your time, but I am giving you quality teaching, research, things that you can go back and check for yourself. You want to make sure that what's being taught can be verified. I don't care where you go, who you're listening to. You want to make sure that what's being taught, you can verify. I don't mean like, well, it's in there, somewhere in there. I can't quote it, but yeah, I know it's. I wouldn't trust. Would you trust me? I wouldn't trust anybody that couldn't show me where exactly they're getting their information from. And then here's another thing. When we quote sources, other people, what makes them so trustworthy that we need to quote them, and then you believe what I say based on me quoting them? What makes them so? Talk to me, y'all. I want to hear what y'all think about that. What makes a person that I quote so much of an authority that it backs up the information that I'm saying? What's different between them and me? I want to know. You can put it in the chat. You can put it in, you can unmute yourself. I'm curious to know how that works. Is it because of European ice is colder than black ice, so-called black ice? What's up with that? Are you guys familiar with that statement? That statement I just made? Let's talk about that first. I'm curious about that. Because I mean, I have a degree, I have a master's. Well, do I need a PhD? What is it? Do I need a PhD in order to be quote worthy? Because if I'm quote, I need to write a book. Is that what it is? I haven't written a book yet. What is it? Because a book is simply an expression of your thoughts and your research that you've done over a period of time, just put to writing. So basically what we have said is we put more emphasis on the written word than oral tradition. That's what I'm here to address tonight. Come on, y'all, talk to me. Why do we trust someone else as an authority? Why do I have to quote them to validate what I'm saying? Facebook, YouTube, what's up? Holla at your boy. Why do I need to quote a scholar to validate what I'm saying? What makes them a scholar? What makes their word credible to the point that when I quote them, you're like, okay, yeah, okay, I see, okay, it's right there then, okay. Well, what is it? Oh, we ask hard questions over here. We ain't playing over here. We ask the questions your pastor won't ask because he want that tide to keep coming in. See? So he may not give you the full truth because it may make you mad. And you know how we are. We get mad. Our fingers get tight. Come on. What is it that validates my words when I quote someone else saying the same thing? We're saying the exact same thing, but it's not until I quote them that is believed. Talk to me. Why is that? Because I could be crazy? I am. Tell you the truth, I'm a little crazy, y'all. You got to be crazy to be a middle school, high school teacher in today's day. What is it? How you know they not crazy? Come on, y'all. Look, this is supposed to be learning and interaction. I'm not the sage on stage. That's European style teaching. Let's get back to our roots where we discuss, where we ask questions, where we interact. Okay, I'm waiting on somebody to just say something. I don't know, Pastor, or, that's a good question. Can y'all hear me? Am I coming through? Put some ones in the chat if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let's talk then. Let's have a conversation. Let's conversate. Okay? Well, let's depersonalize it. What is it that makes us value or validate someone else's comments when we quote a source? What makes that source credible? That's a separate question. How do we know that source is credible? That's a whole different question, because there are a lot of people, guys, who think that they know how to understand scholarly work, but they don't even know how to verify the sources that they're quoting from. I remember this one guy, he tried to prove a point, and because it was written in the book, he said, see, it's written right here. See, it proves it. I said, wait a minute. Do you know that this guy is a racist author? That he believes in that his race is superior to other races? And I'm like, wait a minute, how are you going to quote a racist author? You don't even know who the author is. but you're quoting him or them. Can't remember if it's a woman or a man, but you're quoting them as though because it's written, then that validates what you're trying to say, and you don't even know that they're racist, that they wouldn't even like you. Come on, somebody, let's talk tonight. Do I need to repeat the question? Oh, I got the question. I know the question because man, this agonize. So I need to write a book and then I'll be good. No, because in my book, I'm gonna have to quote other sources as well. And that's what people are going to be looking for. Where is his sources? The book is good, but where is his sources? So what makes me quoting other people validate my work, my research?
So, isn't the purpose of having resources to validate what you're saying?
Is that the purpose?
Right. So, like,
To,
if you read a book without any resources or quoted other research, then is it considered a credible source?
okay, so let me ask this. Well, I'll answer your question. The purpose of quoting sources is not to validate what I'm saying. The purpose of quoting sources is to discover the truth in what's being said. Because there are people, listen, watch this. You can quote authors. I have a book right now. That I can pull out. Where is it at? I think it's in my other bookshelf. But I have a book right now that I can pull this book out, and the things that are being said can validate what a racist believes. Does that make it true? It can validate it, but is that the goal? Just to validate it? Because watch this. We know the truth. We should be able to discern the truth when we hear the truth.
I think it's a good question.
All right, we can move on. We can move on because I'm gonna come back to it. But tonight we're gonna jump into this lesson tonight, and I'm gonna remove everyone from the. If you want to chime in, guys, raise your hand in the chat or indicate that you want to speak or share. But I'm gonna remove everyone. All right, guys, we are about to dive in tonight, and we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse number 1. Deuteronomy 5 and verse number 1. All right. If y'all can see my screen clearly. All right. Deuteronomy 5 and verse number 1. Moses summoned all the Israelites and said to them, "Hear ye, O Israel, the laws and rules that I proclaim to you this day." Look what he says. Study them and observe them faithfully. Do you guys see that? That's powerful. All right. He says, study them. Watch this. He's saying two different things. He's saying the laws and the rules that I'm proclaiming today, I want you to study them and observe them faithfully. Now let's see what a different translation says here. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, "Hear, O Israel, hear the statutes and the judgments which I speak in your ears today." Watch this. That you may learn them and keep and do them. That's a lot going on in that one verse. Let me ask you guys this. Is it possible for them to hear the statutes and the laws on that day and learn them that day, keep and do them? In other words, can they hear all of the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments, learn them, keep them, and do them that day? Is that possible to do all of them on that day? Oh, I can't hear you guys. I want you to think about that. All right. I want you to think about that. So let's go to verse 23. We're going to start in 23 here. Um, all right, let's start in verse 23. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page here. Verse 23. All right. All right. It says this. Let me read it from this version. Sorry. So we're going to start in verse 22, actually. It says, these words the Lord spake unto all. He says, these words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thickness of the thick darkness, which a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tablets of stone and delivered them unto me. Okay, Moses is speaking. And it came to pass when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God does talk with man and liveth. Now, therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go thou near and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. There's some very important words there. They said we will hear it. In other words, we're going to listen with our ears and heart, and then we're going to actually do it. Verse 28. That's it. You know what that is? That's a marriage covenant. That's like saying, will you promise to do this, and this? And what does the groom, what does the bride and the groom both say? I do. Verse 28. And the Lord heard the voice of your words. He heard you say it. He heard you tell him, I will, I do. He heard you marry him when you spake unto me, and the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Verse 29, oh, that there were such a heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, Yah's telling Moses, go say to them, get your butt into your tents again. Get you into your tents again. Go home. He said, you ain't got to look. He said, you got to go home. But as for thee, Moses, stand thou here by me, God said. And watch this, guys. Here's some important words. And I will speak unto thee all the commandments, all 613, and the statutes, and the judgments, which thou, watch this, which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Guys, how many tablets did Moses go up on the mountain to get? How many tablets were there? Put it in the chat. You can put it in the chat, guys. How many tablets were there? Those of you who are listening by way of Facebook, YouTube, you guys can participate as well. Put in the chat, how many tablets? First of all, how many commandments did Moses receive? Because he said all, but then how many tablets did he come down with? Now, when he says, I will speak unto thee all the commandments. See, we got to look at this word speak. Because sometimes we got to know this. How many days was Moses on the mountain? So this word in the Hebrew is va a dav ra. All right. Va a dav ra. All right. It comes from the Hebrew word davar, which means, yes, it means to speak, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. It means to speak, yes. To declare, to converse, command, promise, warn, threaten. Sing. That's interesting. Now, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys remember a nursery rhyme? When did you learn that nursery rhyme? And can you still say it today? Notice the word, guys, davar. I'm gonna hold on to that question, but I want you to notice this word. Because it says he spoke all the commandments to Moses. But I want you to notice what he did with Moses. He didn't just say them. Look what it means here. To arrange, to speak, yes. To subdue, to answer, to appoint, to bid, command, commune, declare, destroy, to give, to name, to promise, pronounce. Look at this. Rehearse. You see that? He rehearsed them with them. How many days was Moses on the mountain? Type that in the chat, y'all. Let's see. Okay, someone said 630 commands were given to Moses. 2 tablets came down with him. 40 days and 40 nights. All right. How many hours is 40 days and 40 nights? There are 24 hours times 40. Can someone do that math? What's 24 hours times 40? Isn't that like about, let's see, 20 times 40? That's about 600 some, maybe 700 some hours, something like that. What's 24 times 40? That's a lot of hours. Yep, almost 1,000 hours, y'all. Listen. I'm wondering, did Moses get any sleep? Did he sleep while he was up there? 40 days and 40 nights? He must have, because I don't know if you can stay up that long without hallucinating. Did he eat? Was he fasting? Interesting questions. So watch this. Look what it means also. To talk, to teach, to tell. You see this? To think, to use. Look at this. So watch this, guys. Moses received a comprehensive, direct instructional class where he participated in learning and understanding the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, all 613. That's why it took 40 days and 40 nights. Do you seriously think that it would take 40 days and 40 nights for 10 commandments, y'all? Come on, let's think together. Do you think it would take that long for 10 commandments? Moses was engaged with Abiyah because Moses didn't write anything down. Abiyah wrote them down in 2 tablets, 10 commandments. What Moses was relying on was oral tradition. Oh my goodness. Come on and go with me. Let's look at that text one more time. Let's look at this text one more time. Because in 31, but as for thee, stand thou here by me. You see that? Verse 31, stand thou here by me. I will speak. That's our word. In other words, I will teach you, Moses. Okay? I'm going to teach you. I'm going to share. I'm going to give this instruction to you, Moses. I'm going to allow you to learn them thoroughly, completely. You're not going to go anywhere for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to make sure, Moses, that when you leave from the top of this mountain, that you know all 613 commandments to the point where you're going to be able to teach them to the people. Now watch this. Can someone answer me this question? When Moses taught them to the people, were they writing things down during that time? Did Moses have a book that he wrote in and explained to the people? Type that in the chat. Because what Moses was doing with Yah was he was communing with Yah for 40 days and 40 nights. And he was learning. He was immersed in the presence of Almighty Yah. And in his presence, Yah taught Moses verbally. How many of you guys are oral learners? You learn. I'm an oral learner. That's one of my learning styles. That is like probably my number one. The learning style is to listen to someone speak. Some of you guys may be, Sister Benz, what are the different learning styles that you can share with us? Bodily kinesthetic, you have to do it. Which one? What's another one?
Visual, audio.
See it. You have to see it in order to learn it. Audio, you have to hear it.
Tactile.
You have to have your hands touching. In other words, you can tell me all day how to change a carburetor. I can read about it, but I have to physically get that wrench. I have to get the tool and then actually do it. Okay, but Moses was completely audio, hearing. He wrote down 10 of the commandments, but Moses took those 10 that was written. He went back to the Israelites and he taught them what they meant and what they said. All 613. Are y'all with me? Do y'all see that? Any questions? I want you to see the establishment of oral tradition. Now, let's go back to the verse. Let's look at this verse. He says, I'm going to speak unto you. Now, what does speak mean again, guys? What does the word speak mean again? Let me unmute everyone so everyone can participate here. What does the word speak mean again?
Talk, sing, say.
Uh-huh. Okay. To teach. So Abba Yah was teaching Moses on the mountain. He was talking to him, but he was teaching him also. He wrote them down. He wrote 10 matters or commandments down on 2 tablets. But what all 613 were not on those 2 tablets. How did he learn the rest? Abba Yah taught him through oral communication. And therefore, Moses learned to be a spokesman because Abba Yah had rehearsed them with Moses. Now, let's get back to the singing. Can someone share a nursery rhyme that they know today that you can sing it? You learned it when you were a kid, but you still know it today, word for word. Can anyone share a nursery rhyme with us that you still know today? Don't be shy.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone know another one? Is there another one in the house? We're talking about oral tradition. You didn't read a book. You didn't go on the internet to find this. Someone orally passed this on to you through oral tradition, and you still hold it today and even taught it to your kids. What's another one? Oh, come on.
It could be anything.
Row,
on,
row,
y'all.
row your boat. Row your boat.
Come on.
Downstream. Merry, 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 merry.
All right, look at that. See, oral tradition. Oral tradition is still with us. Any others?
Old Mother Hubbard.
All right. Come on, old Mother Hubbard. What you got?
I forgot. She had an empty cupboard.
Okay. What about Jack and Jill?
Jack and Jill
went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Come on, oral tradition. What about the one with the spider? Itsy bitsy spider crawled up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. What about London bridges?
Wheels on the bus.
Huh?
Wheels on the bus, says Josiah.
Wheels on the bus. You know that one, Josiah? Let's sing. We want to sing it with you. What do the wheels on the bus do? Okay. What about this one? Does anyone know? I know y'all know this one. I'm gonna say it, and I want y'all to catch on with me. Mary had a little
lamb.
Its fleece was white as
snow.
Everywhere that Mary went,
the lamb was sure to go.
Okay. See, we know these things. We know them. Oral tradition.
Old McDonald.
You got another one? Old McDonald. Come on now. That's a long one too, because you got to name all the animals on the farm.
Miss Mary Mac.
Miss Mary Mac, all dressed in. What was she dressed in?
Black.
Come on. We know these oral traditions, guys. But today, I want to show you that oral tradition is not just for nursery rhymes. The methods, the mechanics, the reliability is different. Oral tradition, please write this down. Oral tradition is different from the telephone game. Come on, y'all. Please write that down. Oral tradition is different from the telephone game. I'm gonna put
can you just say what the telephone game is for those who may not know?
Okay. Let me write this down. Oral tradition is different from the telephone game. Does anyone know what the telephone game is? Have you heard of that? Okay, so does anyone know what it is? First of all, can someone just tell me if you know what it is?
Yes.
How many people know what it is? Have you heard of it? Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of the telephone game. Okay. All right, we got some 1s. Okay. Okay. You heard of it. All right. So the telephone game, that's one name of it. It's also known as Chinese whispers. I don't know if you ever heard it from that name, but basically you have one person, you have a group of people. Okay. You can have 3 or more people. It works better when there's more people, but you have a group of people and one person tells the partner or the neighbor, you can sit in a circle, you can be in a straight line. But the first person whispers or tells a phrase or something to the next person. The listener, the one that's listening, tries to correctly repeat everything that person just told you. And then the next person does the same thing. You tell it to the next person, and the next person tells the next person, and the next person tells the next person, and on until you get back to the original person that whispered the message or said the message. And usually what happens is 9 times out of 10, that message is completely different. Okay? From the original person that told it. And so the telephone game tries to demonstrate how quickly and reliable a message can be changed when passed between people. I shouldn't say reliable, how unreliable. The telephone game, it demonstrates how quickly and unreliable a message can change when passed between more than 4 or 5 people. Okay, it's a reminder, y'all, that information that's passed from word of mouth can often include incorrect information. Okay, that's the telephone game. It's a fun game. You should play it one day, just to demonstrate the difficulty in how we got our gospels and how we got the word of Yah. Okay, but I want to say this on the screen: oral tradition is different from the telephone game. It's completely different. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Can I add that the telephone game is demonstrating how things can be misheard or misinterpreted, because you can whisper something, but when you consider how fast someone speaks, different accents that might come into play, whether you heard them clearly in the first place, that information can very well be misconstrued. Not to mention people gossip, and gossip is no good anyway. So that information gets misconstrued as well. But oral tradition is a teaching method. How else will we would we have remembered all these nursery songs we learned in preschool?
Mm-hmm.
And we 40, some of us are over the age of 40 years old, but no one ever forgets the lyrics to some of the songs we've learned decades ago, the ABCs included, which is the foundation of us learning how to read and write in the first place.
Absolutely. And then think about songs that you know that you can sing. There are some people, guys, that can sing a complete song from beginning to end completely. They dedicate the skill they use to do that are very similar, if not the same, as the skills that are used in oral tradition. You can pass that song on to your children. You can teach it to them word for word, and they can learn it word for word and pass it down to them. Me and Deneen were watching a TikTok video. We were about to go to sleep, and we were trying to put ourselves to sleep, whatever. But the little boy, he must have been what? How old was he, Deneen? Like 4 or 5? Singing every word to a song with his mom. He didn't go read a book.
Every word to the 90s song. And the funny part, you don't have to know how to read to know these lyrics, to know the cadence, to know the rhythm, to memorize it. You don't have to know how to read. And a lot of the slaves learned
those that were
about
enslaved, people that
those
were
that were
enslaved.
enslaved. That's how they were able to meet up. If you recall learning this in history, they hymns in the field that they would teach, code, so the master and them wouldn't know about their rendezvous. So yes, absolutely.
And so just like Moses went to the mountain, Abiyah taught him all 613. He told Moses, go back and teach the people. I want you to go back and teach them. How was he going to teach them? The scripture says, which you, Moses, shall teach them. How is he going to remember all of those 613? Not just simply what they said, but what they meant in practical practice on a day-to-day basis. Moses was responsible for teaching. Now watch this. Orally. Where is it written down at, y'all? I'm not just talking about the actual command of what to do in a situation, but where is the teaching of it orally? Where is it found for all 613? Let me just drop this on you. It's not in the Tanakh or the Brit Hadashah. Okay? The 613 are there, but the teaching that Moses taught, when he says, thou shalt teach them, where are they at? And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at that today. All right? So let's get it in. All right? And I do want to share this, that, if I had to be honest, we as Israelites, we're the laughing stock of the entire world. Straight up. We are. We say we have unity, but in reality, Israelites all over the world are divided. We're the most divided group in the world today. Why is that? Because we have the revelation of the truth that's found in scriptures, but put us in a room with 100 people and we'll all have 100 different views on the same passages of scripture. You give us one passage, 100 people, 100 Israelites in one room, and we'll all come to a different conclusion. And watch this. Everybody thinks that their voice should be heard, that their voice should have value, that their voice is equally as good as the pastors, equally as good as the teachers. And how dare you dismiss my opinion because you think you the pastor and you know everything. We are a laughing stock, y'all. We don't know our lane. We study for 2 hours a week, 6 hours a month, and we think come on and go with me. We 8 hours a month, and we think that we have a right to declare on the same equal level and then get mad if someone says what you're saying is ridiculous. Identity, our identity, just because we know our identity as Israelites, y'all, it means nothing if we don't have unity. Nothing. Paul said this in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. He says, now I beseech you, brethren, talking to believers. He says, by the name of the Lord, by Yeshua HaMashiach, that you shall speak the same thing, and that there be no division among you, but that you may be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. For it hath been declared unto me of you, my brethren, by them which are of the house of Chloe, that there are contentions among you. See, Paul says, I beseech you, I'm begging you, but he says, but my prayer and my desire doesn't match with reality. And Paul said, I don't want to just deal in my prayer. I don't want to live in what I'm praying, because I'm forced to deal with the reality of the fact that there's no unity amongst us. Because Paul says that Chloe, the house of Chloe, is telling me and writing me some things that, as I sit here today, I'm finding that are true. That there are contentions, that there are disagreements, that there's division, because everybody thinks that their voice is equally as important and they should be listened to just as equally as the pastors and teachers, who are called to specifically bring unity and teach the flock. But see, here's another reason in this new millennium that we're in of why we have division. Is because we listen to every teacher on the internet. We listen over here. We listen over there. We listen a little bit over here. We try to do our own study. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. Well, Pastor, are you saying that we shouldn't listen to others? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is get your discernment up. You should be able to listen to anybody and discern the truth of the matter, including this brother that's sitting in front of you right here tonight. That's what I'm saying. Yes, you should be able to listen to anybody, but you should be able to, watch this, have unity around the truth. Paul says, however, I hear there's division among you. What is the division that Paul was hearing? Some say that, he says, now this I say, that every one of you saith, I am of Paul, I am of Apollos, I am of Cephas, I am of Christ. Paul says, is the Messiah divided in what he teaches? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? Or the name of your favorite pastor? Or your not so favorite pastor? He says, hold on. You should allow the Ruach to lead you and guide you into all truth. And if we're all being led by the Ruach, then we should all come into the truth. But you know one thing European Jews have over us? You can't say nothing about this. You can't touch them with this. Look, you cannot touch these European Jews with this. That they're all unified with their teaching. All over the world, they do the same exact thing. No matter what temple you go to, in Los Angeles, in Oakland, in New York, they're all unified. Now, do their rabbis discuss and disagree? Yes. But they do it with the purpose of sharing with the masses the truth. Now, whether they come to the truth or not is a different story. The point is, they all believe the same things. In other words, they're doing way better than we doing. Absolutely. Take Jehovah's Witnesses. We know that Jehovah's Witnesses only have a little bit of truth. You cannot, listen, you can't have false doctrine without having some truth. Come on and go with me. But watch this. Even in their false doctrine, they're unified. Take the Mormons. Even in their false doctrine, they're unified. What's wrong with us, y'all? What's wrong with us? Because everybody's opinion, we think and believe, is just as valid and should be equal to those of us who put hours, who have tools. What are your tools? What do you use? The internet? Other preachers? That's your have you read anything? Have you done any independent research? Do you even know how to get to what we used to call in graduate school, we called it getting to ground zero? Do you even know what ground zero is? See, if you don't know what ground zero, now some people may call it something different, but usually in academic circles, when you talk about research and getting to ground zero, everyone knows what you mean. Have you ever gotten to ground zero on the topic? Well, well, what is ground zero, Pastor? See, this is what I'm talking about. See, we don't even know the methods of getting to ground zero, but yet we want our voice to be heard and be put on an equal status. Listen, guys, I don't even want my voice on the equal status with what Paul said. I know that I have to submit to those writers that were inspired by Yah, and I have to seek the truth daily to make sure that what I believe is lining up with what Paul and the rest of the authors and writers of Scripture who were led by the Ruach to write down for us. But here come you and says, well, my voice is just as equal as yours, Pastor. I can do the same thing you can do. As a matter of fact, I'm smarter than you. I have more degrees than you. I know the King's English better than you. I can conjugate verbs. I can make subject and predicate agree. I know how to make the number and I was just looking at this, man. The number and the gender agree. I know how to do all that. So I know more than you, Pastor. My view is higher than yours. If not higher, it's on an equal level. So you can't tell me anything. As a matter of fact, I have a PhD in a specific area, but it's not Bible. So we need to rethink. Just because we have our identity, we are a laughingstock because we have no unity. We need both and not one or the other. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to look at oral tradition. What is oral tradition? Oral tradition refers to knowledge. Are y'all writing this down? Because I got a free book. Baby, where's that free book? Here's one of them right here. Here's one of them right here. Okay. This is an awesome book, The Negro Question by Lee Cummings. Finally, a book that tells the truth about the so-called Negro in America. This book has images on coins found in the Egyptian Museum by Joseph of the Bible, depicted as a black man, coins of a black Hannibal. Come on and go with me here. Image of a replica of the Ark of the Covenant found in Zimbabwe. Thank you. Mosaic of a black Jesus from the 13th century, the 1200s. Images of black Israelites from the tombs of the pharaohs. Images of people of the Ashan, the black Jews in America. And also have this one. Okay? The ancient black Hebrews, Abraham and his family. What ethnic group did Abraham and his family belong to, y'all? We don't want to bring color into it, but we have to in this climate that we living in, because as soon as I put on my ZTO, as soon as I say that I am Israelite, somebody's questioning me and they're saying, but you're black. What do you mean? You're African American. So now I have to include color and show and prove through history that the original Israelites that came up out of Egypt were indeed a melanated people. And so this shows that the family of Abraham were a people of color. Does the Bible say they look like Cushites? Are there pictures of this ethnic group form? Are there pictures of this ethnic group from the time of Abraham? All of these questions are fully answered in this book and pictures to show. So you got this one I'm trying to give away and this one. And so how do I give these away? You got to engage, answer the questions. All right. And so one of the things I'm going to be asking about is oral tradition. Okay. And so you may want to write this down. Oral tradition refers to the knowledge, stories. Take a picture of it, something. The knowledge, the stories, the history, traditions that were passed down. It's not just stories, y'all. It's knowledge, information, stories, histories, traditions that are, and even songs. We can even include songs on this. As a matter of fact, songs are not only a part of oral tradition, but they are also a method or mechanism by which we learn and remember. I'm going to get to that when we get to the mechanisms of oral tradition. What are the ways that we're able to retain this information, these stories, this knowledge, these histories, traditions, etc.? They're passed down verbally from generation to generation, not the telephone game, in ancient societies before writing existed. This includes epic narratives, origin stories, songs, and proverbs. That's what oral tradition is in a nutshell. Now, what does the scholarly evidence say about our oral tradition as Africans? Now, when I say Africans, you got to understand where I'm coming from. Now that's going to challenge your geographic understanding. Do you include Israel as a part of Africa or do you not? Do you include it as a part of the continent or not? Well, Israel is actually on the African tectonic plate. Indeed. You can look it up. Now, that's one thing I said I shouldn't do. So let me show you. But I've said this before, and okay. Now there are pictures to show. Let me see if this one shows it. Hold on, let me get a good, clear picture here. Okay, this is a good one. Let me show you guys this one. See, everything I say, I feel like I need to back it up, y'all. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that's how you should, that's the level of expectation that you should have whenever you listen to people. All right, you can see this. Here's the African plate. Look at the color. It comes all the way up to Israel right here. All of this. Okay, it goes all the way up here. I wish I had a better picture, but there we go. So let's just talk about some scholarly work now that verifies and upholds oral tradition with our ancestry. So the William and Mary Quarterly, a magazine of early American history and culture, says this on page 229. Ship captains, logs, and other archival documentation of individual slaving voyages provide concrete evidence for the African oral histories.
Can you change the screen?
Oops, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so we have this, the William and Mary Quarterly, a magazine of early American history and culture. They say that the ship captain's logs and other archival documentation, individual slaving voyages, they provide concrete evidence for the African oral histories. In other words, how did these logs and other archival documents begin to exist? Because people were passing them down orally. They were telling them. That's what this quote is letting us know. It gives concrete evidence for the African oral histories. Here's another one. In a book called History in Africa, a journal of debates, methods, and source analysis, carefully sifting and an analytical study have shown that at least a core of historical fact can be distilled from most oral traditions. That's in Nikori, page 181 in this book. That you can, even um, in African history, that you can distill, you can get facts from most oral traditions. They are validating it. Here's another one, African oral literature by Isidore Okpehu. Oral poets often employed mnemonic devices as cues, such as repetition, that's in all of our songs, repetition of stock phrases, use of imagery, and narrative patterns to accurately recall and perform long oral histories, guys. Okay, that's on page 21 in that book. And one of the techniques is memorization. All right, so we're going to be looking at mnemonic devices. One of those mnemonic devices is memorization. And including in those mnemonic devices is repetition, imagery, and narrative patterns. Okay. Here's another one. Research in African literatures. While imperfect, oral traditions remain indispensable for reconstruction African histories prior to the advent of literature or literate or write. I don't really like this word he uses, but it says literate recorded history. I like to think of it as written recorded history. The deficiencies in the study of African oral traditions, that's the name of the book or the article, Research in African Literatures, volume 20, number 4, page 598. This is the importance of oral tradition, despite the limitations of it. It's still important. Here's another witness from oral tradition in ancient Israel. Watch this. Both African and ancient Hebrew cultures had specialists like griots and bards who memorized vast oral knowledge using devices like drum beats, poems, songs, etc. This is out of oral tradition in ancient Israel. page 12. Let me go back to something real quick. Verse 31. But as for thee, stand thou there by me, I will speak. And when Abiyah said I will speak, that means I'm going to teach. I'm going to tell you, you're going to commune with me for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to teach you all of the 613. You're going to memorize them, Moses, because you're not coming up here again. I'm going to give you 10 commandments that are going to jog your memory as a mnemonic device, so that when you hear thou shalt not kill, all other commandments related to that are going to automatically come back, and you're going to memorize Moses' vast quantities so that you can teach them to the people. Come on and go with me, y'all. So these additional academic quotes and citations that I've given you guys, aside from the scripture, they substantiate the methodological, guys, the method and the rigor that comes with the method. There's, in other words, rigor. Those of us who are teachers, we know what rigor is. It is the extensive, the core teaching. It's rigorous. In other words, there is a a quantity and a quality of teaching that comes with it. Academic rigor is super important, guys. It's challenging. It goes into depth. What else, Deneen? What else, you educators out there? What do you know about academic rigor? I shouldn't say quantity. That's not so much rigor. Just because I give you a lot of something doesn't mean it's rigorous.
It would be more qualitative than quantitative.
It's deep understanding. That's why when God said he's going to teach you, Moses, he's going to teach you. He's going to give you a deep understanding of the commandments. I'm going to give even Moses, I'm going to give you, Abiyah said, understanding of complex ideas that are going to be hard to understand, but I'm going to give you the understanding so that you can teach the people. And also, if you look in the Torah, there are situational problem solving teachings. Okay. Abiyah gave Moses all that, the ability to problem solve and teach that to the people, all found within the 613. It's going to help Moses. It's going to help the people engage in thinking that is complex, not simple. And guess what? It's going to be for everyone. All the Israelites are going to be able to do it. So there's no such thing as, well, I don't understand the Torah. No, that's not what the scriptures teach. He says it's going to be for, what does he say? Which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them. Okay? He didn't say I'm going to teach a few, Aaron and a few of the leaders. No, all of the children of Israel. Okay? Because he says, go say to them that this is going to be for everyone. So this methodological rigor that comes with oral tradition, generational continuity, continuity, that means that that the truth that was told in one generation is going to continue to the next generation. That's what oral tradition should accomplish. And essential reliability of oral traditions as a historical data source. Please write that down, guys. That is an important statement. What these quotes and the scripture are showing is that oral tradition is a historical data source. That means that you can go to oral tradition as a source for historical information, y'all. Our stories matter. See, we got to have this attitude about our stories. But we have that attitude about other people's stories. We ain't read nothing about Abraham Lincoln or nothing like that, but we believe he was who was the first president, y'all? Can someone tell me who the first president was of the United States?
George Washington.
See, how do we know? How do we know that?
Memorization.
Okay, so there's a comment, a question in the chat here, and I want y'all to handle this. I feel like y'all can handle this question. How do I convert to Judaism? My question would be, why do you want to convert to Judaism? Why not convert to? Well, first of all, I would like to know who's asking that, because you may not need to convert. That's what I would want to know. And then I would want to ask this, not only that, but I would ask this: what is Judaism? Then see, all these questions begin to come in my head. I mean, even Paul said he left Judaism. Do y'all know that Paul said that? I think it's in the book of, is it Ephesians? Hold on, I'm gonna go there right now. Because my question would be, why would you want to convert to Judaism? And then what is Judaism? It's either in Galatians. I know it's Galatians 1 or Ephesians 1. Hold on, let me see. Paul said, I left Judaism, that former religion. Oh, yeah, look at this. Look at this, y'all. Let me show y'all this in Galatians. Galatians 1:11, he says, but I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Yeshua HaMashiach, oral tradition. For you have heard of my conversation, or we know what that word conversation means. Who remembers what that word conversation means? I taught that. It doesn't mean him verbally speaking. What does that word conversation mean? It means his lifestyle, his way of life. Paul says, for you have heard of my lifestyle or my conversation, my behavior in time past in the Jews' religion, Judaism, y'all. How that beyond measure I persecuted. Watch this. We don't call it the church. That's in English. What we call it is the assembly in the church of God, and wasted it and profited, watch this, in the Jews' religion above many of my equals in mine own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers. But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace to reveal his son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood, neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me, but I went to Arabia and returned again to Damascus. Paul said, he said, I left Judaism. You see that? To preach the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach. Here's another one. I want to deal with this. I'm going to deal with this because Romans 10 gives us another tidbit. I should say nugget, a golden nugget. Here's Judaism right here. Brethren, my heart, this is Romans 10:1. Brother, my heart's desire and prayer for Israel is that they might be saved. You should be wanting to know how to be saved because that was Paul's desire for the Israelites. He says, for I bear them I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness, have going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. What does going about establishing their own righteousness mean? They're practicing Judaism. Paul said, I left Judaism to preach the gospel. Paul says, my brethren have a zeal of God in their Judaism, but now I left Judaism to preach the gospel. So you don't want to convert to Judaism. You want to have faith in Yeshua and follow the Torah. Well, how do you know that, Pastor Dance? Well, let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 12. See, if you want to be a believer or a saint, and I don't mean saint in the sense of the Catholic false religion. Let's show you what a saint means. Because he says, here's the endurance or the patience. Hupomone means remain. Mone means remain. Hupo means under. Okay. Mone. See, you got to know Hebrew and Greek. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, man, we got to know this is so you got hupo, which is a prefix, mano, which is a root word. Mano means to remain. Hupo means under. So in other words, you remain under pressure. That means you have endurance. In English, they call it patience. Okay. The word saint, hagios, it means those that have been separated. Something that is holy, set apart, blameless. Okay. Consecrated. So watch this. Here is the endurance of those who have been set apart to Yeshua. Here are they that keep the commandments, the instructions, the teachings, and the faith of Yeshua. So not only do you keep the teachings, but you keep your faith, keep the faith of Yeshua. So you need both. Christians today, they only say you need half of this. The Bible says, John in particular, he says you need both, the commandments and the faith in Yeshua. So which one are you going to take? What Christians say or what the scriptures say? I'm going with the scriptures all day, every day. Well, what do you mean commandments, Pastor? In tole or in tolas. I'm going to go with the teachings, the injunctions, the commands, that which is prescribed by one by reason of his office, commandment, a prescribed rule or accordance to which with the thing it's done, a precept relating to lineage of the Mosaic precepts concerning the priesthood, ethically used of the commandments in the Mosaic law or Jewish tradition. I'm going to keep those. And that's exactly what we are talking about when we talk about oral tradition. Watch this. While acknowledging inherent limitations. Okay? The evidentiary basis affirms the value of oral histories for reconstructing the African past. So watch this. The knowledge you have about African history, the majority of it comes from oral tradition. I dare say all of it comes from oral tradition, because there was a point in time where there was no written record of African history written down. West African. We know that Egypt was the first to have a written culture down. But West African, that's what we're going to get to when we get to this book, Hebrewisms of West Africa. Hebrewism is simply a tradition, cultural aspect that was carried over from Hebrew culture to West African culture. We're going to get into that next time. Now, I'm almost done. The biblical foundation is the key, though. The Torah speaks. We just read 5:1 and 23 through. We just read this. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear ye, O Israel, the statutes, judgments, which I speak. Look at these words. Speak. We looked at that. That means to teach, commune, and learn. Teach them in your ear, Moses, this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. Moses said, watch this, he called all Israel, said to them, Hear ye, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears today, that you may learn them, keep and do them. Let's break this down. When Moses said, speak, when he says, I speak them in your ears today, this word speak in the Hebrew is the word davar. The word davar, when Moses said it, is in the active voice. It's a participle also. A participle is a verbal or a word. It's a verb, first of all. We know that speak is a verb. It's an action. It's something you do. It's a word based off of a verb that expresses a state of being. Usually, words that are participles, they end in in or ing. So in other words, what Moses was saying was, the words that I am speaking in your ears this day. Come on and go with me. In other words, it's the present tense. And this word speak, it means to speak, to declare, to converse, to command, to promise, to warn, to threaten, or to sing. One of the mechanics or the mnemonics in oral tradition. So we know that Moses didn't say, okay, guys, take out your notes. I want you to take notes on what I'm about to tell you. That's not what he did. He said, the words that I'm going to pass down to you orally, I want you to learn them, keep, and do them. So what do you mean by that you may learn them? Again, this word may learn. Look at the word, guys. I want you to see this word. Ul. It's going to be hard to see this. Hold on. This word, ul, the first two letters, ul, mad, team. Ul, mad, team. Now, if you take this prefix off, this first letter, and if you take these last two letters off, the last two letters in the Hebrew always makes a word plural. Okay? So you have a prefix and a suffix. And the middle three letters are the root word, lamad. Oh, come on and go with me. Oh, we get into it. The root word is lamad. It's in the sequential perfect tense. What does that mean, Pastor Benz? A sequential perfect verb often expresses the same kinds of action as the imperfect tense. Well, what is the imperfect tense, Pastor? It's a past incompleted action. I said incompetent. I need to fix that. It's a past incompleted action or an actioning happening over a period of time, but it's incompleted action. In other words, it's never going to be completed. The sequential perfect simply means that it's a continuous action happening all the time. In other words, what Moses was saying to the Israelites is that I'm going to continuously teach you in your ears that you may continuously learn them every single day of your life. My goodness. And so this word may learn, it means to literally skillfully, that you're skillful at learning, teaching, instructing, and exercising in them. In other words, you're going to skillfully learn them. Moses is going to skillfully teach them. And watch this. You're going to skillfully teach them too. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. Shema Israel. Okay. Yahweh. Y'all remember the quote. Echad. Yahweh Elohim Echad. All right. So it's to skillfully learn, teach, instruct, and exercise everything he said that they were going to do. To learn, to keep, and do them. Now watch this though. Deuteronomy 5:31. He says, watch this, guys. This is important. I want to show you Deuteronomy, and we're closing after I do this one. This is the kicker right here. Deuteronomy 5, and we're going to go to 31. It's in the same chapter, but we just read it. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, Moses, and I will speak. This word speak is the same word we read or we looked at earlier. Davar. Did someone write down what davar means? If you did, I'm going to give you this book. What does davar mean? Sister Benz, you can't answer this question. What does davar mean? It's the same word he uses here. I will speak unto thee all the commandments, all 613. You know you can get 613 on 2 tablets. It said it was 10 of them. 5 on one, 5 on the other. All the commandments, all the statutes, all the judgments, which thou shalt teach them, watch this, that they may do them. Oh, this is gonna blow it off the roof, y'all. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and look at this word. Thou shalt teach them. Remember we talked about subject-verb agreement? Teach is the verb. Them is the subject. What does it mean? Can someone tell me what subject-verb agreement means? What is subject-verb agreement?
Singular subject makes a singular verb.
Somebody busted. Who looking it up? You busted. Who is that? You're supposed to know this. Subject-verb agreement. You do it all the time, every day when you talk. You don't need you don't need to look this up. Every single day you talk, you use subject-verb agreement. In other words, you don't walk around here talking about the cat. The cat. Some people talk like this though. The cat are dying. How do you correct that sentence? How do you make the subject cats agree with the verb? Are. Oh, I just gave you the answer. The cats is dying. How do you correct that? The cats are dying because this plural subject has to agree with the plural verb. Are y'all with me? So it is in Hebrew as well. And so watch this. Watch this. The Hebrew word for teach, what Moses was doing to the people. Look at this word. This Hebrew word, 3925. Watch this. Ta lam dam. I think that's talam deem. No, it's not deem. These two, it makes the little dalits here are vowel sounds. Ta, la, ta, lam, dim. Talam, dim. In other words,
We can't see it.
oh, sorry. There we are. So this word, thou shalt teach, is, look at the root word. So take off the last letter and the first letter. You see these three letters in the middle? Lamed. The lamed, the mem, and the dalet. That spells lamed or lamad. Okay? But this word talmudim in the Hebrew. Talmudim, it means skillful at learning, teaching, instructing, and exercising. It's the same word that we used up here, that you may learn. But down here, it says, thou shalt teach. So watch this. How is Moses going to teach them? Orally. Come on and go with me here. Is skillful at learning, teaching, instructing orally. Again, Moses didn't tell them to take out your paper, take out your parchment, take out your pencils. We're going to write this stuff down. No, that's not what the text says. So watch this. Where is the oral tradition preserved in our Hebrew culture? The Gemara, the Mishnah, and the Midrash. Tonight, we're dealing with the Gemara. The Gemara is the Aramaic term or word that means study or learn or speak. Talmud or Talmudim in the Hebrew is the Hebrew equivalent or the synonym for Gemara. Gemara is the Aramaic word. Talmud is the Hebrew word. What does Talmud mean? Who wants this? I'll let you have your pick. What does Talmud mean? I'm testing to see if y'all took no. I just told you what it meant. It's too late. Is it late, y'all? Let me say this, because I want to close. In Deuteronomy 5, verse 1 and verse 31, please write that down. That is the foundation for us to study what Moses orally passed on to the Israelites, which they in turn were not to play the telephone game, but they were to orally transmit it from one generation to the next until someone wrote it down. And it was written down in what is called the Talmud. And that is what we have when we look at what is called the Sephara. Hold on. When we look at the Sephara, and we have the Talmud right here. How many have ever read the Talmud? Look at this. The Talmud is the textual record of generations of rabbinic debate about the Torah, philosophy or thinking about it, and biblical interpretation. Compiled, look at this, is very important, y'all. Please write this down. If anything, you don't write this, please write this down. The Talmud was compiled between the 3rd and 8th centuries AD. 3rd and 8th century AD. And structured as a commentary on the Mishnah. We're going to get to the Mishnah later. With stories interwoven. The Talmud exists in 2 versions. The more common studied Babylonian Talmud was compiled in present-day Iraq. That's why it's called Babylonian. While the Jerusalem Talmud was compiled in Israel. So what I want you to know is when it was compiled and where. 3rd and 8th century, between the 3rd and 8th century AD, that means the 200s and the 700s. Please write this down. It was compiled between the 200s and the 700s AD. The Babylonian Talmud was compiled in Iraq. And the Jerusalem Talmud was compiled in Israel. The Babylonian Talmud is the most commonly studied and read. Do you need me to repeat that? Does anyone need me to repeat that? If you want to know about the oral tradition passed down from Moses, from generation to generation, until it was written down, on Shabbat, you can see oral tradition on Shabbat. Now, you have to know how to read the Talmud. But I'm coming back for our ancestors' writings and our ancestors' teachings. Now, we're going to get into the objections. I was sharing with Deneen the other day that a lot of the objections to the Talmud have been taken out of context. They've been taken out of context, guys. I mean, if I had time, it's late, but I can show, it's going on 2 hours. I can show you one example. I'm not going to do it tonight. Maybe I'll save it for another day. Maybe I'll text it to the group. But you can look at Shabbat. You have all these topics. All these topics. Oral tradition. On every topic. Now, when was it compiled? What was the time frame? When was the oral tradition written down? This is not a, does this seem like a test, y'all? It's too difficult. I told you what the Talmud meant. I showed you. All right. This is just part 1, the biblical evidence. Now, watch this. The biblical evidence, y'all, is backed up by history. We already read this. Both African and ancient Hebrew cultures had specialists like griots in African culture. In Hebrew culture, we had scribes. We had individuals that listened, and they eventually wrote it down. Okay. Some scribes were priests also. Okay. They were the record keepers. Okay. They wrote down the things that were given to them orally. And the scribes, guys, I have this book right here. Oh, yes. It's called Pharisees, Scribes, and Sadducees in Palestinian Society. And it talks about in this book about how the scribal profession was really a guild. It was a very professional group of individuals that had a tremendous responsibility to get it right. And so this book talks about their profession. And we're going to be using some of the quotes from this book to demonstrate some of the mnemonic devices that were used to write down this oral tradition. Okay. And memorize vast amounts of knowledge, stories, teachings. Okay. So I'm curious to know, are there any questions, any concerns, anything that you want to add to this lesson tonight? I tried to show you tonight that we have a mandate, a command, if you will, to learn not just the scripture, not just the commandments, but to learn what they mean, to learn the explanation for them, and then to do them. And watch this, and then pass them down orally, with our actions, with our mouths, with our lifestyle. That is the mandate. That we have a responsibility to read the oral tradition, which are explanations, explaining the Torah, explaining the teachings, which Moses did. The beautiful thing is we have it written down. And all we got to do is learn how to read it, because it did fall into the hands of a group of people that now people are saying we shouldn't even read the Talmud. We shouldn't even read our ancestors. I'm showing you that if we believe we're the Israelites and that our ancestors were in the wilderness and that they were in Egypt, when they came out of Egypt and were in the wilderness before they went into the promised land, Moses told our ancestors, I'm going to speak unto y'all all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. Before they went into the promised land, they were supposed to learn the statutes, the judgments, and the commandments through oral tradition, and then pass them down to their children and their children's children. Our ancestors created the oral tradition. That was us. On one hand, you can't say, this is the division I'm talking about. Oh, and we ain't never read the Talmud. We've just looked at certain excerpts, but that's not enough. We got to read it in context. Context creates comprehension. We got to read it. We got to understand it. And then we do it. Why haven't you read the Talmud? When our ancestors clearly show that we should have. Remember, He says that you may learn them, that you shall teach them. Thou shalt teach them. Yah told Moses, but as for you, stand right here with me for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to teach you all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments, which then you are going to turn around and teach my people. You're going to pass it on to them, Moses, through oral tradition. When he says thou shalt teach them, he says you're going to give to them in the Talmud. Talmud simply means to teach, discuss, learn, with the purpose of doing them in the land which I give thee. We know that Moses taught them, but everybody didn't keep it. Questions, concerns, comments, blessings.
Blessings. Great information.
Oh, bless you, brother. I thought it was interesting that the connection for me, y'all, that I made in this study was the Hebrewisms of our West African ancestors, that before we were scattered, they made sure that one of the Hebrewisms that they passed down to us, which is evidence that we are the Israelites, is that we have oral tradition in West African culture, y'all. Where did that come from? It came from our Hebrew ancestors. Came from them. Oh, yes. Blessings. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Shalom.
Blessings.
Guys, we need to learn the Hebrew, y'all. I'm telling you, we need to learn this. I know enough to make sure that you have just the same understanding that I have, that you can learn the alphabet, you can learn words, you can learn how to pronounce them, you can learn how to read it. If you have that, guys, you have so much more than a lot of pastors out here. That means that you can go back to the documents and read them yourself and not rely on anyone else. You don't have to rely on European Jews who wrote one thing which was not in the original language. Let me show you something, and I'm done. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go to Shabbat. I'm just going to go to 2A. I'm just going to pick one thing. I want you to see this. Look at these Hebrew words. Do you see how it's not that many words? 1, 2, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's
I
11
don't think
words.
we can see them.
Sorry. There's 11 Hebrew words here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Hebrew words. Look at all this English, guys. Why are these words highlighted and bolded? I want you to read the bolded words. Carrying out on Shabbat 2 that comprise 4 inside and 2 that comprise 4 outside. What is all this other stuff added here? go to the next one. Look at how few words are in the Hebrew, but look at how many words are in the English. You know what that is? That's someone interpreting the Hebrew for you. They can write anything they want here. But unless you know the Hebrew, you can't decipher it for yourself. Guys, I'm thinking of holding a Hebrew class on Fridays. Friday night, Shabbat night, at sunset. I'm honestly considering putting a curriculum together and making sure that we get this learned. Tell your friends, listen. Or do I need to get a degree in Hebrew first? I can demonstrate I have knowledge of it and how to teach it. I'm a teacher. I have the methodology to teach it. But it's up to you. Do you want some of your culture back, or do you just want the identity? Do you just want the right to say, I'm an Israelite? Well, what does that mean? We got to know this language. It's ours. I want everything back. Coming for it. Coming to go with me. Blessings. Shalom to each and every one of you.